Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to Hickory Ridge Concerts Live. As you can tell, it has been quite an adventure getting this up and running this quickly. It all crashed about an hour ago and we threw it back up again. So hopefully you will be able to join us here this evening as we bring Hickory Ridge Concerts to you. So I'm Chris Valillo. I'm the host of Hickory Ridge and happy to have you here with us. And let me kick things off with an old bottleneck slide instrumental. Favorite of mine, Old Joe Clark. Alrighty. Final tune. Well, as you know, of course, so many of the places in Illinois are shut down, and all over the country for that matter. And this is hardly the first time we've had to deal with hard times. And we always manage to come together and find a way through. And one of the worst times of all was back in the 1930s, the Dust Bowl, when hundreds of thousands of farmers were driven from their homes and thousands died in what has been called the greatest ecological disaster of the 20th century. The worst day of all took place on April the 14th, 1935, the dreaded Black Sunday, when a gigantic dust storm rolled across Oklahoma at 65 miles an hour, carrying dirt from 4 states. They say that when the storm hit, it got black as night. The sound was terrifying. Automobile ignitions failed. Cars drove into ditches. You couldn't see the hand in front of your face. Barbed wire fences glowed with static electricity. Radios stopped working, and people believed it was the end of the world. Well, in a small town called Pampa, Texas, a 22-year-old musician named Woody Guthrie huddled with his wife, his children, and his neighbors in a room he would later describe as so black you couldn't see your hand in front of your face with the lights on in the middle of the day. And in the midst of that chaos, he scribbled down a phrase that the folks were saying to one another, thinking that it was the end of the world. They did survive, and he would use that phrase to write a song that became one of his best known, a song he originally called Dusty Old Dust, but we know as So Long, It's Been Good to Know Ya. I sung this song and I'll sing it again, of a place where I lived on the wild windy plains in a month called April in a county called Gray. Here's one all of the people there say, they say so long, it's been good to know ya, so long, it's been good to know ya, so long, it's been good to know ya, this dusty old dust, it's been my home, and I've got to be drifting along. Now, Woody Guthrie wrote songs that were meant to be sung, and if you were here in live audience mode here with me, I'd ask you to join in. But you can sing remotely if you want to. The chorus is very easy. So long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. This dusty old dust is getting my home, and it's time to be drifting along. Now the dust storm hit, and it hit like thunder. It dusted us up, and it covered us under. It blocked out the traffic, and it blocked out the sun. Straight to home, all the people did run singing, so long, it's been good to know ya, so long, it's been good to know ya, so long, it's been good to know ya, this dusty old dust, it's a getting my home, and I got to be drifting along. Now the sweethearts, they sat in the dark, and they sparred, they hugged and they kissed in that dusty old dark. They sighed, they cried, they hugged and they kissed. Instead of marriage, they talked like this, honey, so long. It's been good to know ya, so long. It's been good to know ya, so long. It's been good to know ya, this dusty old dust, it's getting my home, and I got to be drifting along. Now the telephone rang, and it jumped off the wall. That was the preacher just making his call, and he said, kind friends, this may be the end, and I got your last chance for salvation from sin. Now the churches was jammed, the churches was packed. That dusty old dust storm, it blew so black that the preacher could not read the words of his text. So he folded his specs and took up that collection, singing so long, it's been good to know ya, so long, it's been good to know ya, so long, it's been good to know ya, this dusty old dust, it's a giving my home, fine old tune from Woody Guthrie. Well, at times like this, when we're all hunkering down, we need a little comfort food. And for me, those are two things: chocolate and, of course, ice cream. I love ice cream of all kinds, but if you want the absolute best ice cream you'll ever have, anytime, anywhere, any place, friends, there is only one way to get it, and that is with the old-fashioned, hand-cranked ice cream freezer. You got to do it the old-time way if you want that coagulated butterfat, coat the roof of your mouth consistency that only comes from 45 minutes of shoulder aching, back breaking, hand cranking action. And I was trying to explain this concept to a young woman I knew, and she looked at me like I was stupid. And she said, "Dad, you don't make ice cream, you buy it." So I knew I had to pass this great tradition on to the younger generation, and I did it by writing this song. Now, if any of you folks have never enjoyed the pleasures of hand-cranked homemade ice cream, now's your chance to check it out. Just grab a piece of paper and a pencil, start taking notes, friends, because it's done just like this. Well, now when I was a boy up in Michigan, we went out on a picnic. One of our friends, he brought out some contraption like I'd never seen. Said we're making genuine hand-cranked homemade ice cream. Ice cream, I said, mystified. That's what you go down to the store and buy. But he said, no, we're gonna make it right here in the shade. He proceeded to show me how it was made. I'm talking hand-cranked homemade ice cream. The sweet cold invention of the summertime dream. The good old hand-cranked homemade ice cream. Now he began to mix together some cream and some eggs, and then he threw in a little sugar just to give it legs. He poured the whole concoction right into the can. He put the paddle in the middle, closed the lid, and then he set that can into a wooden tub, locked down the crank and gave his hands a rub. Then he laid down layers of salt and ice, mashed them all together with a stick real nice. I'm talking hand-cranked homemade ice cream, the sweet cold invention of a summertime dream. The good old hand-cranked homemade ice cream. Now I said you start off cranking and it's as easy as pie. Keep on cranking as the sun gets high. When it starts to freeze and it gets harder to turn, feel that muscle in your shoulder beginning to burn. You keep on cranking just as long as you can. Get a little help from all your hungry friends. When it starts to feeling like it's getting real thick, that's when you pull out the paddle and you all take a lick of that hand-cranked homemade ice cream. The sweet cold invention of the summertime dream. The good old hand-cranked homemade ice cream. Now you wrap it in a blanket so we can get good and hard, and then you stick it in some shady spot way back in the yard. After what seems like an eternity, you grab a bowl and a spoon and get a line behind me. Talking good cold eating on a real hot day, guaranteed to blow all your blues away. Now you can't get nothing like it back down at the store. Hey, get out of my way, you're gonna get me some more of that hand-cranked homemade ice cream. The sweet cold invention of a summertime dream. Tastes so good, bring a tear to your eye. If I don't get some soon, I believe that I'll die. I'm talking hand-cranked homemade ice cream, straight from the can of that old machine. The good old hand-cranked homemade ice cream. Well, the nice thing about doing a live broadcast like this is that I have access to all of my favorite toys. And I want to do a song that was inspired by a situation that the gentleman that helps me at Hickory Ridge, my partner in crime, Steve Ensley, introduced me to. It was actually at a performance, I believe, of Hickory Ridge back when it was Shad Hill, that he came up onto the stage. He had a paper bag in his hand, and inside of the paper bag were all of the pieces to this little guitar. It's a Washburn 1201, a 9-string parlor guitar. And Steve held that bag out and then wouldn't leave the stage until I came up with the $1.89 that he'd bought it for at the yard sale. It was a wonderful gag. But I decided that since it was all there and it was cheap guitar, I'd put it back together. And it had a beautiful sound, but a rather severely warped neck. Now, the top 3 strings of this guitar are doubled like a 12-string, and then the bottom 3 are regular. But a few years later, I stopped to visit luthier Tony Classen in Chesterton, Indiana, and he does new era guitars. And I showed him that old Washburn 1201, and on the spot he offered to build me one to Larson guitar specs. And this is the one. And when I heard the word that the new guitar was done, I took out that old guitar and I wrote a piece of music to be used on the new guitar. And it's called The Last Day of Winter, title cut from a CD from around 2013. It goes like this. is and what? Okay. Is it erasing? All right, I understand we had a little technical difficulty in the middle of that. We are working out the system to do this on the fly, so hopefully we won't have that again. I should mention that Hickory Ridge Concerts is a once-a-month series we do at the Dixon Mounds Museum outside of Lewiston, Illinois. We have been there for 25 years as of last September. The COVID-19 virus has shut down the entire state museum system for at least 2 months, so we will miss tonight's concert plus the one next month. But I will do another broadcast then for sure, if not before. If you're of our audience, we hope you will stay with us through these broadcasts. If you are new, delighted to have you. Glad to have you with us as we share some music. There is a donation button, hopefully put there up on the website, there at the Facebook page. If you want to throw some money in, that will all go to the Hickory Ridge Concerts to keep this series alive and afloat, because we will face some pretty significant losses as a result of this. So that would be my nickel tour right there. Let me go grab the National Trichome guitar. I had an opportunity back in 2019 to be involved in a series of concerts produced by the Illinois Humanities Council to honor and celebrate the 200th anniversary of our state. And one of the songs I performed for that was a song about the Mother Road, Route 66. And it was a song written by David Williams, who used to live in Springfield, Illinois. I believe he's down in Nashville these days. Great songwriter. And this is a song he wrote that chronicles his personal journey from southwestern Missouri up to Chicago in the late 1950s on that road. And of course it is titled Route 66. Red dust blowing from the closed down lines. 3 years old in a coonskin cap. Everything we owned in the car was packed. Saying goodbye to everyone we knew. Over 2-lane highway heading into the blue on Route 66. Yeah, Route 66. Up to the land of money, milk and honey. All the South's just hungry now. Greenwood playing something new. At the edge of some green, we were slipping through on Route 66. Yeah, Route 66. Cigarette smoke through the window crack. Green Hills going, never coming back. Grown up talk from the big back seat. Half-bald tires humming each main street. Gainer Rocks bridges, the sun went red. Blessed assurance singing in my head. some dream we were slipping through on Route 66. Yeah, Route 66. On Route 66. Hey, on Route 66. Well, here's a song that goes, oh, I should mention that Route 66 is going to be on the new CD. I've just begun the early stages of working out the preliminary tracks for that, and that's going to be one of the songs. So let me tune this guitar up here, and while I do that, I'll tell you a little bit about this next song. This is off the Best of All Possible World CD, and it was based on a true experience. I heard the story of a farm family in northern Illinois that they suffered a tragedy. The farmer himself was killed in a tractor accident, and the community came together in a way much like we need right now to support one another. And I was so impressed with that I decided it needed to be preserved in the form of a song. And while this happened back in the 1990s, interestingly enough, the exact same thing happened again last fall, just outside of Quincy, Illinois. Seems like a good time to revisit this story. This is called The Final Harvest. Streaks of dawn touching the horizon, my eyes were playing tricks out on the road. So I pulled into the cafe just this side of Morris for a cup of strong black coffee, tired to the staring down the steam rising from my cup and saucer. I was trying to clear my ears of that highway sound when a man in faded coveralls and well-worn leather work boots came in and took a stool a few seats down. Waitress brought him coffee. He ordered up the special. And she said, "What brings you out in this autumn glow?" He said, "You know Gerald Steffes, the old man killed here late last summer." She sat down, her pad and pencil. She said, "I don't think so. He was just like any one of us, an ordinary farmer. Was a common man with a heart and a calloused hand, and he hoped to live just long enough to pay off all his mortgage and then to reap one final harvest from his land. He wanted one final harvest where no banker held his paper. Used to say that was his heart's desire, just one final harvest, where the land he worked was his own. Then he'd quit that farming business, he'd sell his tractors and retire. And he said, you know, he nearly made it. Still sugar in his coffee. Well, keep going until that battery dies. Sorry about that. Just 5 more years till he was free and clear. When that darn old John Deere tractor rolled and crushed him here last August, left his wife and family helpless at the worst time of the year. Well, a few of us are meeting just to help him bring the crops in. You know, he did the same for all of us before. Then he finished up his coffee, rolled it up, paid his ticket, left a quarter tip, headed out the door. The sun was up and shining as I pulled back on that highway. I slipped it into gear and I headed west. As I topped the hill, a couple miles past that diner, I saw a sight below me, took away my breath. Gleaming in the morning light, in rolling hills of amber, rumbled more than 30 combines in a row. Crawling across the cornfield like a swarm of hungry locusts, blowing silage all around like it was snow. There was grain trucks overflowing, bound for Morris and Manuka. There were pickups parked a mile along the ditch. As I stared there at that eerie sight, oh, it seemed a fitting tribute to an ordinary man and a simple wish. He wanted one final harvest where no banker held his paper. Used to say that was his heart's desire, just one final harvest where the land he worked was his own. Then he quit that farming business, sell his tractors and retire. All right, we're going to take just a second to check our battery life. What's up? How much time do we have?
It's been beeping for like 10 minutes, so you're not going to be on for much longer.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned, we're trying this out for the first time, and I don't know if our battery is going to last much longer, so I'm going to keep playing, and if the battery dies, we'll try and come back in a couple of minutes. But, pardon me? So, we're going to keep going on, but if I disappear, that's why. All right. So, while I've still got video, let me pull out this lovely little instrument. This is a 1897 Washburn 145. And my friend, fellow matter of fact, who's a pilot, John Vaughn, of the Riverboat Twilight, where I worked for about 16 years, and a shout out to Art Theme, wherever he may be. He passed that gig on to me. Thank you, Art. At one point in this, the pilot of the boat, John, and I were talking, and I mentioned I loved old guitars, and he told me about this particular one, which I bought from him in pieces, and spent the next 10 years restoring. And I told John I would play this song for him sometime, and I don't know if he's listening or not. But John, if you are, this is the Washburn 1897 style, new model 145, and you're the pilot in the song. Bought her from a riverboat pilot who was selling it for a friend. Gave him $150 just to take it off his hands. Battered ghost of an old guitar most folks would throw away. Once a fancy painted lady, now the picture of decay. I could see beyond the damage, the splits and cracks and wear. It'd been a well-made instrument, built with craftsmanship and care. And as I reached inside the sound hole to wipe away the grime, I read a Washburn 1897 style, new model 145. Brazilian rosewood back and sides, cut from old growth trees, trimmed in herringbone and pearl like some ancient Grecian frieze. The back was split and falling off, parts were rattling round inside. That a Washburn 1897 style, new model 145. Some things they are worth saving, some things worth fighting for, something to hold on to as the winds howl at your door. Now, I believe guitars have songs in them. Hell, some might even have a soul. Fixing up that beat-up box became my greatest goal. And as the years went by, I slowly worked until I made it come alive. That Washburn 1897 style, new model 145. That Washburn 1897 style, new model 145. Don't sound too bad for being 120, 30-year-old guitar. All right, once again, if we disappear, our battery appears to be running low. We're trying this for the first time, and there will be issues. So I'm going to do a couple of more here, as long as the battery life runs out. One of which is from the show I've been performing recently called O Freedom Songs of the Civil Rights Movement. And it is a show that uses the music of that movement as a vehicle to talk about the history of civil rights and social justice in this country, a theme that is certainly current here today. So this is a 1956 Gibson ES-225 being played through a similar vintage Gibson Discover tremolo amp. And I'll use this to do a song whose lyrics stretch all the way back to the days of slavery. It's the old song, I Shall Not Be Moved. Now, with many of these songs, it evolved through time. It became a labor song in the 1930s, and then a civil rights song in the 1950s and 60s. And what I'll do here now is demonstrate that change. I'll start with the original, and then I will move forward in time. captain, and I shall not be moved. Jesus is my captain, and I shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water, oh, I shall not be moved. I'm on my way to glory, and I shall not be moved. On my way to glory, I shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water, oh, I shall not be moved. Oh, I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water, oh, I shall not be moved. Now, as I mentioned, these songs evolved through time, and they would simply create a new verse to match whatever situation they were in, as they evolved from a gospel song, then to a labor song, and then to a civil rights song. Now, with this one, they particularly changed the verses, but also the chorus, but only one word. Instead of saying, I shall not be moved, it became, we shall not be moved, like this. Black and white together, we shall not be moved. Black and white together, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water, oh, we shall not be moved. Oh, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water, oh, we shall not be moved. Oh, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We got 10 minutes of battery left. Perfect. It's going to work out just
I
fine.
don't know if we have 10 minutes of battery, but we have 10 minutes of the concert launch.
Okay.
You should end it a little early because of the delay.
I'm going to do 2 more songs, and then we'll get out. All right, so first of all, a word from my sponsor, which of course is me. My side gig, Orphan Instruments, which you probably can't see very well, is what I do on the side, where I restore guitars and sell them for absurdly low prices. And guess what I'm doing right now while I'm not out touring and playing? So you can go to my website, orphaninstruments.com, and see a whole range of different instruments. They've all been restored with a lot more love and care than most folks have time to give. And they're all for sale well below market price at working musicians' prices. So with that in mind, you know, there's a lot of musicians that are out of work right now. I'm one of them, but I'm not as bad off as many are. They have no income at all, and you can support them by seeing their live streams, by donating to them online, by purchasing their products, CDs, recordings. And I should mention that while Spotify is nice, you have to listen 5,000 times to give an artist the same amount of money you would give them by downloading or purchasing one of their CDs. So keep that in mind as we all go through these next few months together. Now, I want to do a song that I wrote about one of my absolute favorite musicians, Bo Ramsey. But in many senses, this song is also about all the musicians that are out there that will never be huge stars, but are working every day of the week, every month of the year, to keep music alive and to sustain themselves. So this is a song for Bo where I tried to emulate a lot of his slide style because I stole a few licks from him over the years. The King of Iowa. Beneath an old straw hat with a battered brim, he stands like an oak tree warped by the wind. He sways to the music, and then he stands like a stone as he throws off a lick that cuts to the bone. And as the thunder breaks somewhere just out of sight, the king of Iowa plays tonight. All the years on the road have left their trace, like a cornfield's furrows cut across his face. Ah, but when he bends to the music, it all fades away, like the break of dawn of a brand new day. And in between the splinters of darkness and light, the king of Iowa plays tonight. You heard it all before. It's that Hawkeye wind, and it's a John Deere roar. It's a storm parade, that locomotive moan of the Iowa blue with a tremolo drone. And you can find him standing there just stage right. The king of Iowa plays tonight. Silhouette in the glow of the hot stage lights, the king of Iowa plays tonight. Yeah, he's standing there playing with all of his might, the king of Iowa plays tonight. Time we got?
I think we're done. I think it's off. I think yeah, it's off.
Okay.
But I think you